You wake up and immediately check your phone. Not because you want to, but because you need to. Your metrics await. Steps taken, calories burned, hours slept, productivity score. Before your feet touch the floor, you've already been measured, quantified, assessed. The day hasn't begun, but the evaluation has. This is the quiet revolution nobody noticed. You didn't become free. You became your own overseer. The boss moved inside your head, and now he never leaves. He's there when you eat, whispering about macros. He's there when you rest, calculating lost productivity. He's there when you sleep, monitoring your REM cycles. You are never alone because you are never not being observed by yourself. They call this self-optimization. They make it sound like liberation. You're in control, they say. You're improving yourself. But here's what they don't tell you. Optimization is a trap disguised as empowerment. It's a system that convinces you to become both the worker and the factory manager, the prisoner and the guard. Traditional capitalism had a visible problem. The boss was external. You could see him, resent him, organize against him. There were clear boundaries. Work hours ended, the factory closed, you went home. Exploitation was obvious because it came from outside. But achievement capitalism discovered something more efficient. It eliminated the external boss and replaced him with an internal one. Now you exploit yourself, and you do it willingly, even enthusiastically. You work longer hours than any external boss could demand because you've internalized the voice that says you're not enough yet. This is the seduction. You're not being forced. You're choosing. Every morning you choose to measure yourself, to track yourself, to improve yourself. And choice, we're told, is freedom. But what kind of freedom demands constant self-surveillance? What kind of choice offers only one acceptable option? More? The language betrays the trap. Self-optimization, self-improvement, self-discipline. Notice the pattern. The self acts upon the self. Subject and object collapse. You are simultaneously the sculptor and the stone, and the sculpture is never finished. There's always another edge to smooth, another imperfection to eliminate, another version of yourself that could be better. There's a specific exhaustion unique to our time, not the tiredness that comes from building something or carrying weight or running long distances. This is different. This is the depletion that arrives from never being allowed to simply exist without improvement. You feel it most acutely in moments that should be restful. You sit down and watch something, but your phone whispers, shouldn't you be learning a language? You take a walk, but the voice asks, why aren't you listening to a podcast? You lie in bed, and it demands, have you journaled your gratitudes, tracked your habits, reviewed your goals? Rest has become another project. Sleep is now sleep optimization. Vacation is now network expansion. Hobbies are now side hustles. Every moment must produce value, and if it doesn't, you've failed at the fundamental task of modern existence, converting yourself into capital. This is exhaustion by design. The system discovered that a person who never rests is a person who never reflects. And reflection is dangerous because it might lead to a thought the system cannot tolerate. What if I'm enough already? What if the race has no finish line because it was never meant to be won? The achievement society doesn't prohibit rest. That would be too obvious, too resistible. Instead, it makes rest feel like failure. It transforms downtime into lost opportunity. It converts your exhaustion into evidence of your inadequacy rather than evidence of the system's impossibility. Old power said no. The king, the boss, the father, they restricted, they forbade, they punished. And this created resistance. You could identify the oppressor. You could organize against prohibition. The boundary was clear. But the new power says yes. Yes to everything. Yes to your potential. Yes to your dreams. Yes to becoming the best version of yourself. And this yes is more totalizing than any no ever was because it comes from inside you. You can't resist your own aspiration. You can't organize against your own potential. This is the genius of achievement capitalism. It doesn't deny you freedom. It overwhelms you with it. You're free to work all night. You're free to answer emails on vacation. You're free to monetize your passions. And because you're free, because you chose this, the exhaustion must be your fault. The system calls this empowerment. But notice what happens to the word. Power used to mean the ability to say no, to refuse, to set boundaries. Now it means the obligation to say yes to everything, especially to more work disguised as opportunity. You are not burned out because you're weak. You're burned out because you've been handed infinite responsibility for your own value in a system that has infinite capacity to devalue you. You're exhausted because you're running a race where the finish line moves backward with every step you take forward. Somewhere along the way, you stopped being a person and became a project. Your body is a project, optimize it. Your mind is a project, train it. Your relationships are projects, network them. Your emotions are projects, manage them. Even your identity became a project. Who you are is no longer something you discover or inhabit. It's something you construct, curate, and continuously improve. You don't have a self. You have a personal brand that requires constant maintenance, constant updates, constant engagement. This is why stopping feels impossible. A project is never finished. There's always another iteration, another version, another upgrade. The moment you rest is the moment your project falls behind, becomes obsolete, loses market value. The cruelest word in the modern vocabulary isn't failure. It's potential, because potential is infinite, and infinity cannot be satisfied. You always have more potential. You're always capable of more. And this more haunts you like a ghost you can never quite capture or dismiss. They told you this was motivating. They said believing in your potential would set you free. But potential became a prison with invisible bars. Every achievement immediately dissolves into what you haven't achieved yet. Every milestone becomes evidence that you could go further. You're never allowed to arrive because arrival would mean the end of striving, and striving is what keeps you productive. This is why you feel that peculiar shame when you rest. Not because rest is wrong, but because rest means potential unrealized. Every hour you're not optimizing is an hour you're betraying the infinite possibility they convinced you lives inside you. The system doesn't need to punish you for resting. You punish yourself. The most insidious part is how this operates through positivity. Nobody tells you that you're forbidden from resting. They simply ask, don't you want to reach your full potential? And because the question is framed as care, as belief in you, you experience your exhaustion as personal inadequacy rather than systemic impossibility. Your potential isn't a gift. It's a debt you can never repay because the interest compounds faster than you can work. And the person collecting isn't your boss or your parents or society. It's you. You've become your own creditor, and the debt is your life. Every app on your phone is a confessional. You confess your steps, your calories, your productive hours, your sleep quality, your mood patterns, your social interactions. The data flows outward, and judgment flows back, not from a priest or a god, but from an algorithm that knows you better than you know yourself. This is the new religion, and its commandment is simple. Thou shalt measure. Because what isn't measured doesn't exist. Your unmeasured run didn't happen. Your untracked meditation has no value. Your unposted experience might as well be imaginary. The genius of this system is that it convinces you the surveillance is self-knowledge. You're not being monitored. You're learning about yourself. You're not being controlled. You're gaining insights. The fact that these insights always demand more optimization, more improvement, more work, well, that's just the natural outcome of honest self-examination, isn't it? But here's what the metrics can't capture. The feeling of rain without checking if you hit your hydration goal. The conversation that meanders without productivity. The afternoon that dissolves into nothing measurable and yet somehow felt like everything. These experiences exist outside the system of value, which is precisely why the system must make you forget they have value at all. You're not deficient because you can't quantify your worth. You're lucid because you recognize that some things resist measurement, and those things might be the only things that matter. There used to be a difference between public and private, between performance and authenticity, between the self you showed the world and the self you inhabited alone. That boundary has collapsed. Now every space is potentially public, every moment potentially documented, Every version of yourself potentially judged by an audience you can't see but can always feel watching. You curate your apartment because someone might photograph it. You curate your bookshelf because it might appear in a video call background. You curate your morning routine because it might become content. Nothing is simply lived. Everything is performed, especially, the performance of not performing. This is exhausting in a way previous generations couldn't imagine. They performed at work and rested at home. You perform everywhere, all the time, because the audience is infinite and the stage never closes. Your bedroom is a set. Your breakfast is a scene. Your mental breakdown is potential content if you frame it correctly as a journey of growth. They've given you 1,000 options for who you could become. Entrepreneur, influencer, thought leader, creative. Each path promises fulfillment. Each demands total commitment. And each requires you to treat yourself as raw material to be endlessly refined. This abundance of choice feels like freedom. But notice what's absent from the menu. The option to be enough as you are. The option to stop striving. The option to exist without improvement. These aren't choices the system can offer because they would collapse the entire architecture of achievement capitalism. The menu is infinite, but every item costs the same thing. Your life converted into productivity. Your rest converted into guilt. Your present converted into preparation for a future that never arrives, because arrival would mean the end of optimization. You're not indecisive because you're weak. You're exhausted because you've been handed infinite possibilities in a system that makes all of them mandatory. The paralysis isn't personal failure. It's accurate perception of an impossible demand. The old power was obvious. It said no, it restricted, it punished. You could see it and therefore resist it. But the new power operates through yes. Yes to your dreams. Yes to your potential. Yes to becoming whatever you want to be. This yes is more totalizing than any no because it comes wrapped in care. How can you resist someone believing in you? How can you refuse your own possibility? The system doesn't break you through prohibition. It breaks you through infinite permission that feels like obligation. Every motivational quote, every success story, every testimony of transformation, these aren't inspiration. They're accusations. They ask, if they could do it, why can't you? And the only acceptable answer is that you're not trying hard enough, not optimizing correctly, not committed to your own potential. The violence of this positivity is that it makes your exhaustion unspeakable. In a system that constantly affirms your capability, admitting you're tired becomes confession of personal inadequacy. You can't say the system is impossible because the system has already framed itself as opportunity. But here's what they cannot afford for you to recognize. Your exhaustion isn't evidence that you're broken. It's evidence that you're human in a system designed for machines that never tire, never question, never stop producing. They've anticipated your resistance. They saw burnout coming, so they created wellness. Meditation apps, self-care routines, mental health days, all of it designed to make you functional again, to return you to productivity, to optimize your capacity to be optimized. This is the most cynical move of all. The system that exhausted you now sells you the cure, and the cure is just more optimization with a spiritual vocabulary. Mindfulness becomes another metric. Self-care becomes another project. Even your resistance gets converted into productivity. You're not healing. You're maintaining your capacity to continue being exploited, and you're doing it to yourself, and you're paying for the privilege. The real exit isn't another routine or another app or another version of self-improvement with better branding. The real exit is refusal. Not the refusal to work or to care or to engage, but the refusal to accept that your value is something you must constantly prove, constantly increase, constantly perform. What if you're already enough? Not as inspiration, not as affirmation, but as fact. What if the insufficiency isn't in you, but in a system that requires infinite growth from finite beings? This thought is dangerous because it can't be monetized. It can't be optimized. It can't be turned into content or productivity or personal brand. It simply exists as a truth the system needs you to never speak. You are complete, And the incompleteness you feel is accurate perception of capitalism's impossible demand. Your exhaustion is lucidity. Your refusal is sanity. Your rest, when you finally allow it without guilt, without metrics, without improvement, that rest is the most radical act available in an achievement society. They made you the boss so you'd never stop working. But you can fire yourself. You can step down from the position you never applied for, the job of perpetually proving your worth to a system designed to ensure you never can. The revolution isn't optimizing better. It's stopping entirely and recognizing that the stopping isn't failure. It's the first honest thing you've done in years.